Good evening, Prakash. Prakash Sharma is a senior thought leader in IT field, and recently we were talking about flexible workforce and the latest developments which are taking place in view of new technologies like artificial intelligence, robotics, and so on and so forth. And I requested Prakash to talk a little bit more about that for our benefit. So, Prakash, what are your views in this regard?
So you see, the industry is going through a lot of churn. I'm talking about the IT industry, particularly the offshore IT industry in India. It has gone through enormous amount of growth in the initial year and even until very recently, and now last couple of years we see challenges in growth, and this has caused a lot of churn, a lot of change in the strategy, and a lot of new challenges which were kind of disregarded earlier, but now they cannot learn. I mean, the elephant in the room needs to be addressed as we see it.
So, what are the developments and how they are affecting the way we work in organizations? Anything about?
Yeah. So as I see it, there are two sets of the factors or challenges. One is the they are emanating from how the Indian IT industry has grown and has structured. These are more of internal challenges. The second is the external changes which are coming in the industry because of the new technologies, the automation, and new kind of jobs or skills that are needed. So if I talk about the internal challenges, that is, for example, during the growth phase of IT industry, the people pyramid got kind of everyone, for example, would get a promotion every couple of years, every 4 or 5 years, and that has led to a bloated people pyramid, which is bloated in the middle management. Also, I don't know whether it was culturally or because of the way industry was structured. Many people in the IT industry, after their initial stint as techies, would very quickly want to become people manager, and very few people would aspire to build a long-term career as techies, which means India combined the fact that everyone would get promoted every 2 years, 4 years, 5 years because of retention challenges, and everyone wants to become a people manager. That has led to a very bloated pyramid, which the organizations are now forced to correct, and that is a challenge both to the organization as well as to people, because suddenly they are in a situation wherein they are facing job challenges, retrenchment from the organization, retrenchment, and they need to very quickly reskill themselves, otherwise they'll be out of the job market. So these are the internal challenges of IT industry, and this has faced tough challenges. This is posed tough challenge both for people as well as for the organization. The external challenges are that the entire IT industry is moving towards the cloud and digital, a lot of automation, which means there are fewer jobs, and not only fewer jobs. These are jobs which require different kind of skills, which perhaps we do not have readily available. So people need to very quickly get retrained, reskilled in that. The generalists, we don't need as many generalists as we needed in past.
So you see that in middle management there will be a big shakeout.
Yes, that's what I see.
Okay. When you talk about skills, retraining and other things, one of the thoughts which comes to mind is, because the technology is changing so fast, should we focus more on training, or should we focus more on taking skills from outside? Because you train people in one particular technology or skill, and suddenly you find that it is obsolete. And so that is where the concept of flexible workforce is more relevant, that you can bring in those skills from outside as long as they are needed. So what do you feel about?
No, so I think organization would need to do both. They would need to keep training their staff, plus also they would have to take for executing projects. They would have to, when these skills are not available internally, especially when these are new technologies, new skills, they will have to take it from outside, which is where the flexible workforce, the concept comes in. Where so far, the organization would have 100% of the in-house. In fact, particularly in India, there always used to be a big bench, about 20%, 30%, even up to 35% at one time. The companies would have the bench. That bench has already now reduced to about 10% or so, and it is on the way to become zero. Organization would have to, cut down on their full-time employees, and would have to use a combination of the full-time employees plus the, taking people from outside. I want to add one more point to it. It's not just about technology or skills. It's, you need to train and coach people to how to learn. People have forgotten how to learn. That's more important. Otherwise, the actual learning can happen on the job. But what you need to, train and coach people in, how do you learn? Because as I said earlier, many of us have become generalists and people managers, right? So we have forgotten how to quickly learn a new skill or new technology. So the organization need to focus when they train their people, not necessarily a specific technology, but about how to learn, right? And then I think many of these technologies can be learned on the job.
What are your views on HR aspects, for example, recruitment and performance management or assessment? Because if we have flexible workforce, then what kind of evaluation do you see, and how do they get benefit of having worked on a project? Or we also have to keep in mind what is the kind of certification they will be getting.
So for HR, I think particularly with respect to resourcing from this flexible workforce, when you're taking people from outside, the HR would need to come. I don't know how this is going to evolve, but I imagine it is going to be some kind of an accreditation system wherein, and maybe an industry body like NASSCOM, they have already done some work on, making the people data more reliable, and so that everyone can access the people data and validate the credential of people. So maybe the industry need to find a solution as to how do we, when we are, it's not exactly temping the way it happens today, because the way we do temping, it's more of a payroll outsourcing. For all practical purposes, they remain full-time employee. But here on a project base, let's say 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, when we take people from outside, when we release them with some kind of an evaluation which can be reused in future for rehiring by this company or by someone else, and there is a trust relationship between the companies that they kind of give credential to each other's evaluation or rating.
What will be challenging in motivating such people? Because other than the money, because when we talk about employee, there are so many ways of intrinsic, extrinsic, and so on and so forth. But when we are dealing with the flexible workforce, where they are themselves not clear, nor are we, how long they will remain, and how do we motivate such people and encourage them to work as a team, especially in the context of millennials?
Yeah, you see, to me it seems less of a millennial problem than people who have born before the new millennium, because I think the millennials by themselves, loyalty and long-term jobs, etc., these things I do not think motivate them. These things were concerned for a generation prior to them. Millennials are more about here and now, so I think so far they can be challenged here and now, and they can be given they can be attracted for exciting projects, exciting learning opportunities. In my view, that's what motivates them, and that's what the organization must think of. How do they challenge the people, and how do they give them challenging opportunities? But I think people who are not in here and now and who are looking for job security and long-term jobs, for them I think it's a tough and challenging time, because the long-term assured jobs with job security are increasingly going to become fewer and fewer, and in very, very niche areas. So that's a challenge for people that they need to deal with.
Going forward, how do you suggest organizations should deal with this issue of flexible workforce in India, or what is happening elsewhere?
Yeah, so for the organization, I think the picture is still evolving, although there is a lot of hype around everything becoming automated and artificial intelligence coming in and cutting down on the jobs, but it is yet to play out. It is not yet fully played out. So everyone is in anticipation and preparing for it. And how I have seen many organizations preparing for it is, training and reskilling their staff. Many organizations have already corrected their pyramid, so they are correcting they're kind of letting go of a lot of people which they do not think that they'll fit into how the things are going to evolve. So the organizations are already preparing for the flexibility in terms of the kind of staffing or headcount they have, and they're training people on the future technology. So India is slightly behind the curve on this. This flexible workforce wherein the organizations they take resources from outside on a project basis. This is, I think, already happening much more frequently than it is in India. Also because I think the people are more ready in the West for it. They culturally it is absolutely fine for them to be employed for, let's say, 6 months or 9 months, and then for 3 months and 9 months, many of them, for example, pursue their hobbies, like they'll go on long trekking or travel and so on and so forth, and then they'll come back and then again they'll go on a short engagement. That's culturally very, very acceptable in their culture, and we see already this happening. But I think in India this will still take some time to catch up, because culturally I do not think people are ready for this kind of situation wherein they are not full-time employed and they are only employed for 6 months or 9 months. But in that 6 months and 9 months they are able to earn enough that not only for the period that they are not employed, but also for their future they are able to save and be secured. I think from, at least in my generation, that we have grown in the social security that we need to save for tomorrow. It is ingrained in ingrained in us. I do not see millennials having this, that they have to save for tomorrow. But I think for us, we want that comfort that my retirement is secured, my future is secured. Even if I don't have the job, I have enough savings. So culturally, we draw comfort from that.
Thank you so much, Prakash. It was very
Nice talking to you.
Thank you.